Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a handwoven experience. And in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the Weft-Faced Fabric. Now, you know the term weft, right? We talk about weft and warp all the time because those are the critical components for any handwoven fabric. We have to have the warp and the weft working together to create fabric, right? But when you hear someone talk about a weft-faced or a warp-faced fabric, that implies that one is more important than the other. One is the star over the other element. So in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the weft-faced fabric, where the weft is the star. The weft is the focus. The weft is center stage. So let's talk about a few suggestions for how you can effectively make your next weft-faced project. Suggestion number one is to spread out the warp. Ironically enough, the first suggestion has to do with the warp. And the reason why you want to spread out your warp yarns is that the closer the warp yarns get together, the more you see them. The farther they are apart, the more you see the weft, right? So because we want our weft to really shine, we want a little more air in between each of our warp yarns. Let me give you kind of a, for instance, a real life. So this yarn that I use here, I almost always typically set it at 12 ends per inch. If I'm doing a weft-face project, I spread it out to 8 ends per inch. I just give everything a little more breathing room so that you can really see each pick of the weft, because this is the star. Suggestion number two is think about the proportions. Now, if the weft is the star, I want the weft to be big and bold. So whatever yarn you're using here, make sure that your weft is, 2, 3, 4 times bigger so that it really stands up to it, right? So that when you look at your fabric, you just see these beautiful colors and textures and everything that you're creating just using the weft. Now, let me take a little side tour, a little detour for this second point and talk to you about what are some ideas for what you can use in the weft. If it has to be a lot bigger, you've got choices. You can absolutely use a much bigger yarn, right? That is absolutely a good way to go. You could use a collection of yarns like I have here. I've got about 4 yarns all wrapped together. See that in my little rug shuttle here? You can use recycled materials. I love me some recycled materials. So in my fabric here, this white portion is actually strips from a shirt. But when it comes to the world of recycled materials, there's so many choices, friends. You can cut up recycled neckties or silk scarves or shirts, blue jeans, jackets, draperies, pillows, whatever you got, pillowcases, technically. But there's a whole world of recycled materials that you can incorporate then into your weft-faced fabric and just let them shine so we can all ooh and ah about how interesting it is to use all these repurposed materials. Highly recommend playing with that for sure. But back to our original suggestion. Suggestion number 2 was about thinking about the proportions. Just make sure whatever you use here is significantly larger than your warp. Suggestion number 3 is to consider your pattern. Now, you could spend a lot of time creating some kind of complicated pattern for here, but if the point is to highlight the weft, it may get really, really lost. So my suggestion is to keep it simple. Just go with a plain weave. That's what I have here. Maybe a touch of twill, but don't spend a lot of time and energy making this complicated threading or treadling because the point is to highlight whatever is in your shuttle. So don't overthink the pattern when it comes to a weft-faced pattern because you just don't need to, right? So let's go over the 3 suggestions real quick again. Number 1 is to spread out your warp yarns. Give it some air so we can really see the weft. Number 2 is to think about the proportions. We want the weft to be much bigger, bold, gorgeous, colorful weft. That is the point. Number 3 is to consider your pattern. You don't have to pick anything crazy. It can be just really simple because the idea is to let these beautiful weft yarns shine right there in your fabric. So tell me this, Have you done a project where the weft was the star? Have you done a weft-faced pattern or project? Let me know in the comments. How did it go? What materials did you use? Was it fun? Give me all the details. All right, friends. If you haven't tried this yet, I highly recommend it. And go, slice up a necktie or something fun to go with. Have a wonderful week. Happy weaving.